Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Paragon. Now, this is a video that I've been putting off doing for quite some time on account of two reasons. Number one, I've actually been working on other projects in the channel, as you guys will no doubt have seen. And number two, I'm not exactly sure what my insight can bring to the discussion. But having said that, I did receive quite a few requests to address the situation. So for those of you that were not aware, on the 26th of January, Epic Games has officially announced that they will be pulling the plug on Paragon. So you will be able to play all the way up until the 26th of April, after which point they will be shutting down the servers and Paragon will be no more. Now, as much as it saddens me to comment on this particular bit of news, I can't necessarily say that I'm surprised, because a couple of days prior to this official announcement, there was a Reddit post where you could see that the development team was in trouble because they expressed their insecurity as to whether or not they would be able to grow Paragon into a sustainable title. And at that time, I actually made another video talking about this particular situation, where I expressed that the two main problems, in my humble opinion, were essentially the matchmaking and the card system. The matchmaking, because it essentially drives new players away, because it's not particularly fun if you just jump into a game and you're immediately trounced by a 5-stack, which essentially is something that, due to the nature of how the matchmaking system worked, it happened more often than not. As a matter of fact, I remember creating a Smurf account for me to play with my friends because they were just starting out, and I didn't want my MMR to influence the thing. And essentially what happened was, due to the fact that we were playing as a 3-man comp, even though this was their first match, we straight up got matched into a 5-stack and got completely trounced. And this is something that happened on a regular basis. And naturally, if you're just someone who's starting out in Paragon and you're getting completely smashed by veteran players, it's not necessarily a fun experience. You're not likely to come back and be like, you know what, I really feel like coming back to play more Paragon and get my face smashed in again. You know, it's not necessarily something that people would tend to enjoy. So that would be problem number one. Problem number two is the card system, and I've actually received quite a bit of feedback when it came to the card system, of people telling me the card system is just fine. And you guys need to understand that comments saying the card system is just fine, it's like, there's much more to it than that. I'm not saying the card system is bad. I'm saying the card system is very hard for a new player to get their heads around. Sure, I got into the card system, both the old one as well as the new one that came with V42 or whatever it was, and I actually thought the new card system was better than the old one. But it was much more complex, at least in my opinion. It was complex to the point where I tried explaining it to people, and most people that I tried explaining it to, they were like, what? You're crazy. You're crazy, dude. You're fucked up in the head. I can't understand a damn thing you're saying. And there was actually someone in the comment section of my last Paragon video that was like, dude, the card system is so simple. Here's what you got to do. And it's like, look, you don't have to explain it to me, okay? You got to be able to explain it to someone who's never played Paragon before. And you got to be able to explain it in less than 5 minutes. And you got to be able to ensure that person, after those 5 minutes, can create their own decks and fully understands how the system works. And I highly doubt that anyone here can do that. Okay? And sure, you can say anything you want about the card system, how good it is, how unique it is, how whatever the hell you want to call it. As far as I'm concerned, it was way too complicated for new players. Again, please understand, I'm talking for new players. I understand how the card system worked. New players did not and will most likely not put in the necessary time to actually learn that particular card system. Anyway, those, in my opinion, were the two main faults of Paragon. But unfortunately, what happened in Paragon was the fact that most of its community was focused around the meta. Their main concern was their quality of life. Their main concern is like, look, this character is overpowered, this character needs nerf, this character needs... And it's like, look, at the grander scale, does that really matter to be able to build Paragon into a sustainable game? Is the meta the only thing that matters? No, you gotta improve the experience for the new players, for the newcomers. You gotta make sure that the new players are having fun. That's the most important thing if you're trying to grow a game into a sustainable game. Is the game needs to be accessible to new players. And understand, I'm not saying that the game needs to be super simplified, that the game needs to be super easy. I'm not saying these things. I'm saying it needs to be accessible. There needs to be a learning curve. There can't be a learning wall, okay? That's what I'm saying. You can't just like put a new player into Paragon and it's just like, bam, here's all the mechanics. Fucking enjoy it. You got to be able to introduce those mechanics at a certain pace so that people can learn mechanic by mechanic and they understand how the game functions and how the game works. So you put the card system with the matchmaking and you have a serious problem because like not only it's complex for you to understand what the hell is going on and what you are doing wrong, but on top of it, you're also fighting players that have way more experience than you and you're just getting trounced. And I know no MOBA in the world has the perfect matchmaking system, but Paragon's was above and beyond not that good, okay? I don't want to say really bad, but I guess that is also the case. I mean, it was bad to the point where I felt like I needed to stop playing because I wasn't even having fun. In solo queue, like I was just not having fun by the time that I said I need to take a break until matchmaking is fixed, okay? Anyway, I don't want to harp too much on the two different problems. That's just the way that I see things. And now I've started seeing a lot of posts where a lot of people are flat out insulting Epic Games. They are just saying Epic Games is greedy. All they wanted is money. And I'm just like, how can you even say that all that Epic Games wanted is money when they are refunding everyone out of their own pocket? You tell me the last time a free-to-play game, when it shut down, it gave everyone refunds on all of their microtransaction purchases. You tell me which game did that, and then tell me how do you have the nerve to say that Epic Games was just in it for the money. It's like, you can call me biased because you know that I've been to the Paragon events and all that stuff. You can call me biased all you want. I'll take it, whatever. But it's like, how can you accuse a company that is offering you a full refund? How can you accuse them of being greedy? I don't understand. And it's like you also see a lot of, I saw a lot of posts where people saying, oh, Epic just ignored their community. Like, look, dude, you need to understand. Epic not only did not ignore their community, they were community driven to a fault. Because like I said, the community's main concerns were always meta. Fix the meta. Forget about the new players, just fix the meta. And that's what Epic focused on, because every single time Epic Games would go into their forums, most of the concerns would be, Gideon is flat out overpowered, man, or friggin' Twin Blast is overpowered, or this ability is just flat out broken. That was the only community concerns that Epic would hear, because that was everything the forums were littered with. Nobody was talking about the new player experience. And that's why the game didn't grow, because there weren't new players coming into the goddamn game. They were community driven to a fault. And then the other thing that I constantly hear people say is, they should bring back Legacy. It's like, you want to bring back 2-hour-long matches? Is that what you want? You think 90-minute matches would be the solution to Paragon's problems? Like you really want to put the most toxic people in the world, which are essentially most of the MOBA communities that play these games at large. You want to put some of the most toxic people in the world together in a match for 90 straight minutes? Dude, I don't know what to tell you. The matches needed to be faster, and Monolith was the answer to that, okay? Legacy was great. It would be great if they could keep Legacy as like its own thing, set apart from Monolith. But ultimately, they don't even have enough of a player base to keep Monolith running, let alone like support 2 different gameplay modes. So they couldn't afford to keep Legacy in the game, because that was the other thing. I've seen a lot of criticism back when they swapped from Legacy to Monolith, going like, oh man, why couldn't they just keep Legacy as its own mode? Because they didn't have enough players, and it was already hard enough to generate matches on friggin' Monolith, let alone generate matches for Monolith and Legacy, okay? So Legacy was not the answer to your problems, okay? I've played quite a bit of Legacy, and I can tell you that Monolith was a much more polished experience. Was it less unique? Yes, it was less unique, but it was much more polished, and it led to much more team fights And some of the stuff that they actually did after I stopped playing the game were a lot of features that I was actually really interested in, like the whole thing about being able to more easily do last hits, because I've always said I hate last hitting in MOBAs. I think it's a friggin' feature that was only there to begin with because of a limitation on the Warcraft 3 engine, and that should have never been something that people leaned so heavily on, because to be completely honest, last hitting is the most boring fucking thing you can do in a MOBA. So anything that makes last hitting less of a thing was something that I really appreciated. Then another thing that I've seen recently is like, you should sell Paragon. It's like, look, you will never find another team that has as much passion as the team that was working on Paragon. Okay, it's just not going to happen. And I don't think Epic is going to sell Paragon, and I don't necessarily think they should. It's like, if they can't make Paragon into a successful IP, I highly doubt anyone else can. The fact of the matter is that essentially the MOBA market is already flooded with all kinds of different MOBAs. And interestingly enough, nobody really cares that much whether or not Paragon is a better game, which is, it's very sad to me that the state that we've reached in gaming, where whether or not you have the better game is not necessarily the determining factor. It's just whether or not you've achieved critical mass, which Paragon never really achieved critical mass. Therefore, it doesn't matter if Paragon is better than League of Legends, if Paragon is better than Dota 2, if Paragon is better than Heroes of the Storm, or even if Paragon is better than Smite, which it is, in my opinion. Paragon is better than all of those games. This is, again, one man's opinion, but in my opinion, it was better. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter because they weren't able to generate critical mass. Once you reach critical mass, that's it. It's the same thing that we've seen with MMOs. World of Warcraft, critical mass. 80% of the MMOs that came after World of Warcraft, it didn't matter whether or not they were better than World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft had critical mass. They didn't. They died. World of Warcraft kept going. It's that simple. It is the same thing that is happening right now. League of Legends has critical mass. I believe Dota 2 also probably has critical mass to endure for quite some time, and Smite has critical mass. And Smite is clearly an inferior game. And speaking of Smite, I should also address the commercial that, not really commercial, but like the video that the two community managers from Smite did, which I actually thought of including some of the footage from that video in here, but then I was like, well, I wouldn't want to lower the IQ of my audience by subjecting them to watching that piece of filth, not to mention that people like that probably would have no scruples whatsoever into just putting a DMCA strike on my channel for using like 10 seconds of their video clip, so I decided against it. But basically, Smite thought it was funny immediately after, well, not Smite, but like the two community managers from Smite thought it would be funny to immediately after Epic Games announcing that they would be shutting down Paragon, to basically put out an ad saying, hey, you guys should all play Smite. And then they make a bunch of jokes about how Paragon was gone. And it's just like, for starters, it was lame as fuck. And it's just completely inappropriate. And all I really wish for those guys is that their community never has to go through this, because this fucking sucks for anyone that actually wants to play Paragon. I hope that all the people playing Smite, they never have to go through something like this. And those two guys can go fuck themselves. They can go fuck each other. They can just fucking disappear. As a matter of fact, if I was their boss, they'd be fucking fired by now for being such disrespectful little pricks. But that's just one man's opinion. You know, that's just one man's opinion. Overall, all I can really say is that I'm thankful for all the opportunities that Epic Games has given me, because I got to really participate in the development of this game. I've insisted with them quite a few times on a couple of features that I personally wanted, such as better matchmaking and also a way to have like a special key that I could just put into my stream chat so that everyone could join in on my matches, and we would have like random groups. That never really came into fruition. There was a mode to like get like five mans versus 5 mans, but those were like pre-made, and you'd need to have like a team captain. It was complicated. It was just, I just wanted something kind of like what Monster Hunter World has done, where I can just like, hey, here's this code, join my room, you know? That's something that I wanted for Paragon, and that also never came into fruition. But it was still a great experience for me, and it is a fantastic game. It is hands down the most fun that I've ever had in a MOBA game. And it makes me really sad that it's over now. But it is. And it saddens me even more because I see all of these people that I've gotten to know whilst I was involved in the whole Paragon project. And basically they've developed their channels, their personalities, and pretty much everything around Paragon. And now they're just kind of like, well, what am I going to do now, you know? Because you guys know how the YouTube algorithm works. It's like, oh, your channel's all about Paragon? Oh, is that? You're trying to do something different now? let me introduce you to my algorithm of fuck you. Because that's essentially what YouTube's going to do to a lot of those channels. And it fucking sucks. But that's the way life is. And I'm really sorry for everyone. And I really wished that Paragon could have done better. But unfortunately, they weren't able to do it. And the market is flooded when it comes to MOBAs. Everyone's trying to get their MOBAs out there. And the sheer amount of investment, like, just look at the quality of the art, the detail on the animations, on the heroes of Paragon. Are you insane? Do you see the production values on this game? Jesus Christ. It blows my mind. It just straight up blows my mind. But there's really nothing else that I can add to the discussion. Like, I wish there was some way of salvaging all of this, but unfortunately I don't really believe there is. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Let me know how you feel in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.